Alright guys, this is naming video number 1. We're going to start with some ionic compounds here, alright? So if you look at that sheet that you have, you got it in class, alright? We're going to go through and we're going to do some for numbers 2, 3, and 4. The naming system's pretty easy. You're absolutely going to need your polyatomic ion list, alright? That is a must-have from now on. So let's look at number 2. This is not a question from number 2. It's just stuff that's like number 2. And so if we look at this, if you have an ionic compound that has a metal and a non-metal, and you're gonna name the metal, it's pretty easy. And then for the non-metal, you're gonna remove the last syllable and add the ending "ide." All right, you guys have all heard this before when someone says like sodium chloride. Or if it's got a polyatomic ion, then you're gonna name that polyatomic ion. And it just comes from the sheet. So this first one is KCl. I know my metal name K is potassium. So this one's potassium. And then Cl is chlorine, but we're gonna remove that last syllable and add ide. Potassium chloride. Your ending is gonna be ide there. Just like down here, you got a polyatomic ion, you got potassium again. Potassium. But CO3, if you look at your polyatomic ion list, the name of that ion is carbonate. So potassium carbonate. What you are going to have to do is you're going to have to take the name and you're going to have to get the formula. This is what we've been doing by combining ions. So when I look at calcium chloride, calcium is Ca+2. I got that from the periodic table. Chloride is Cl-. Cl-1. Calcium +2, I need 2 chlorine, so we get CaCl2. That's our formula. Down here, lithium phosphate. Lithium is +1. I know that because of the periodic table. Phosphate's a polyatomic ion, so that's going to be PO4 -3. I have a +1 charge for lithium and a -3 charge for phosphate, so I need 3 lithiums for every 1 phosphate, Li3PO4. Now we're gonna move on to number 3. Number 3 is where people lose their minds. Don't do that, all right? Ions with more than 1 charge, iron, copper, you guys need to know those, but now we can start talking about more ions. Ions with more than 1 charge use Roman numerals to indicate their charge. I cannot stress that enough. It indicates charge, it doesn't tell us how many. So here, I need to figure out the charge of iron. I know oxygen is -2. So the charge of iron in this case is +2 because I only have 1 of them. The name of this is gonna be iron. And then in parentheses, I'm gonna use Roman numerals to indicate that charge, which is +2. Our Roman numeral 2 is just 2 lines. Iron to oxide. We use the same naming mechanism we did for all those problems in number 2, all right? Iron to oxide. Down here I got copper. I know oxygen's -2, I already figured that out. That means copper in this case has to be +1, so it is copper 1 oxide. As I move over here, I'm gonna start to get different formulas. This is copper 2 oxide. I know that copper is going to have a +2 charge because I have that 2 right there. Oxide, that's oxygen, is -2. So our formula is CuO. Down here, nickel 2 carbonate. You don't need to memorize the charges of nickel, but I know that nickel has a charge of +2 because I see it right there. If you look at your polyatomic ion list, carbonate has a -2 charge. We get NiCO3. That's the formula for nickel 2 carbonate. Lastly, in number 4, there are some transition metals that do not have more than 1 charge, like zinc and silver. Remember, silver is always +1 and zinc's always +2. So we just use the naming mechanism like we did in number 2. It doesn't really change. AgBr, silver, that's my metal, bromide. I change the ending of bromine to bromide. Down here, I get zinc, and NO3 is my nitrate ion. So I have zinc nitrate. As I move on over here, silver phosphate, silver is always +1, phosphate's -3. As we figured out over here, phosphate's -3. So we get Ag3PO4. And then zinc oxide, zinc is always +2, oxygen's -2, we need one of each, ZnO. That's how you do numbers 2, 3, and 4. Please try to do those right now.